Now, whatever doesn't come out in the wash surely comes out in the rinse. And in this segment right here, we're going to get into a nice multi-layered bag, as the truth is finally revealed on some of the inner nuances that are taking place inside of that Lakers franchise. And we're going to hear from a number of people, one NBA insider on the real reasons why the team sold, also Rich Paul on the LeBron portion of that Baxter Holmes article from ESPN, where Jeanie kind of responded back to their podcast, throwing a few Cold War jabs in there, revealing the true feelings about trading him, how the LeBron camp really planned way ahead back in 2017 of making their way to LA. And finally, we're going to hear from Baxter Holmes himself, as he is an ESPN employee, and make no mistake about it, with that partnership in the NBA, all the gems that were dropped in this article were carefully reviewed before being made public, as Jeanie Buss herself has a reputation of being very PR savvy. And to start this off, I'm going to stick to Jeanie Buss because this story really revealed a lot of lack of leadership and vision herself. She clearly was upset with LeBron James over the whole Russell Westbrook fiasco back in 2022, where they even missed the playoffs, so revenues were not definitely generated. But that being back in 2022, why at the end of the day did she still give LeBron James an extension with a no trade clause? Also, with the Lakers dealing with a lot of the roster construction fallout from that Russell Westbrook deal not working out, they also drafted Bronny James in the 2024 draft, even though they didn't really have any breathing room to make any sort of roster construction mistakes. So for her in the article to reveal that she felt like LeBron James didn't really have any accountability for those things not quite working out, and the feelings of wanting him to be more grateful that they drafted Bronny, kind of has it looking funny in the light. Her father, Dr. Jerry Buss, quickly moved off of Shaq when Kobe Bryant kind of gave him an ultimatum and Shaq was relatively still in his prime. The next 3 seasons after he was traded, he was top 3 in MVP voting, and he also won a championship with the Miami Heat. So her father does have a history of knowing when to pull that trigger. But things in Lakerland have been very complicated ever since the death of their father. The franchise previously under their father only missed the playoffs twice in 34 seasons. By the time he passed away in the first 11 years, they missed the playoffs 7 times. And since their father had passed away, their winning percentage compared to the rest of the NBA only ranks 26th. So keeping this Laker franchise competitive the way their father did, and just that branding that the Lakers have of just excellence, has been put under a great stress test in this new NBA landscape, where that same image their father held up is very expensive and hard to do. You have to hire outside expertise, and this is a mom and pop franchise that loves to hire within. And again, this is multi-layered because the Lakers are one of the NBA's crown jewels, but because they have been mom and pop and now we're seeing big tech money come in, you know, these NBA teams now, just owning them among these billionaire circles, it's just moved over to a different asset class, because now it gets them the ability to own a complex real estate portfolio. Maybe you get a casino in there in the same ecosystem as the arena, the same attempt the Durant family is trying to do down there in Dallas. Same thing for the Golden State Warriors. Look at their arena setup. They're even collecting commercial real estate rents from a few of the tech companies. So the business of owning an NBA team has definitely changed, and the local media money side to the business has basically began to dry up. Again, much innovation is needed, and Jeanie herself is going to have to be a shark to do so. But interesting enough, she actually spoke about how her father was sort of giving her small tests here and there when she was a lot younger, in order to see if she had the makings of just being the commander-in-chief of this NBA franchise. Dr. Buss clearly saw something in his daughter where he knew that if it was even possible to continue carrying his legacy on with the Lakers, it would have to be through her. This is a real good start to the story right here, because we're going to get sort of the mental makeup of how, you know, her father was kind of testing her out. You guys check it out. And every once in a while, I'll check in.
I value a player's career because it's such a small amount of time that a player can be, playing at his top level. And, we we had to really, you know, I'll tell the story about, my dad was a great poker player. He was actually ranked on the World Poker Tour, and he would always try to get me to play poker. He tried to teach me the game, and I was a terrible poker player because I can't bluff. I can't, I'm just not good that way. And I'd get frustrated, and then he'd get frustrated with me. And he goes, I want you to know why I'm trying to teach you this game. He goes, people think that, you know, poker's like it's a lot of fun, but it really is about stamina, and it's about like hanging in there until you get the cards. And most people don't have the patience to wait for the cards. He said, I know you have patience. I know you have perseverance. He said, but when you get the cards, you have to be able to go from 0 to 100. And I'm not sure you can do that. I'm not sure that's in your personality to do that.
So again, I'm humanizing Jeanie Buss right here because she should be taking a lot more criticism for the way she's handled the Lakers ever since her father had passed away. There has been a lack of leadership and vision. But again, a lot was revealed in this article because it is hard to maintain these franchises. Dr. Buss, even though he had all the success of Magic Kareem throughout the 80s, just making all those NBA finals, he still had financial difficulty by the time it was 1991. And it must have been so bad that even a current player on the Lakers roster had asked him if he was going to sell the team. So there is a Mamba type mentality that she needed. Her father understood that she didn't quite have. And that's why it kind of makes sense why she had, her own circle of advisors like Kirk and Linda Rambis, and a few of the other Laker upper brass like Joe McCormack, Dan Grigsby, Tim Harris. All these people got an additional payday after the Lakers team was sold that even some of her siblings did not even know about. And still to this day, they're not too aware of the details of it. And we got to give her props because sometimes when you don't fully know that you have the capabilities of handling something, it's great to surround yourself with the people that have the expertise. LeBron James, Rich Paul, Maverick Carter have done this with precision in the way they move in and around the NBA business world. But right here, once again, this is all before the sale. We're going to hear from Jeanie Buss speaking on her relationship with LeBron and Kobe, who kind of alluded to her that she is going to need the Mamba mentality for the next chapter of her life after her father's death.
And, it's like now we had LeBron and we had assets.
You had to go all in
to get, a player like Anthony Davis. And that was really, really difficult for me because I get attached, especially those young
you got
players.
a great young core.
Right. But in order to get a great talent, you have to give up great talent. So I like to think that I have that gene that he was talking about.
What he was looking for.
Yeah.
Talk to me about what LeBron, the man, has meant to your guys' organization. Obviously, he, like I said, he weathered the storm with Magic leaving, a bad season. Trades happen. A lot of stuff is going on. You guys are able to get AD, but he kind of seemed like from the outside looking in, it looks like he's kind of, we're never going to get over Kobe's passing, but I think he kind of eased the passing. He was able to help bring a title back. What has he just meant to the Laker brand, and what has he meant to you as a person?
When he signed with the Lakers, there were some people that, put up murals, and some
people didn't like that.
Defaced it, right?
Yeah,
And
LA people don't play. That's the one thing. They're diehard Dodger Laker fans, but Kobe is God.
Right.
So for LeBron to come in right away and be muraled like, some greats like Laker fans were having, he had to earn that.
If you're a Laker fan, you have to be happy that he's here. Like he's coming to us Laker fans. So I didn't understand that, but like you said, it's people you have to earn your love here, and he did. I mean, he did exactly what he said he would do, and he wanted to lead this team to a championship. He's fearless.
And when it's all said and done, when they say Jeanie Buss, what do you want them to remember?
I want them to remember
I'm a
that.
savage. I'm a savage.
Could you imagine if I said that? You guys would have died. Just protecting the Lakers legacy.
And protecting that legacy has been a fight that she's been in ever since she took over. Not only within her family from all the infighting, but also with the media. There's been a lot of rumblings saying that the Lakers have been cheap over the years. And there was a lot of people questioning her because of the roles of Linda and Kirk Rambis. They seem like her top advisors, so some people in the media were kind of questioning her judgment. But when you get a guy like LeBron James, there's a lot that comes with him. The way he has moved as an NBA star, I shouldn't just say an NBA star, but the figurehead of the league, has been very political. He has laid out a perfect blueprint for other players to follow suit, because in this current media landscape, they should have more of a control of their own narrative. So even though the Lakers did get LeBron, there was a lot Jeanie Buss was dealing with behind the scenes. She was not happy with the narrative that LeBron came to LA and he sort of rescued the franchise. That's her once again trying to protect that Laker legacy, because her father definitely left a legacy of innovation with the cheerleaders and the Showtime rolling out the red carpet for the celebrities. He not only owned the NBA team, he's laid out the blueprint for how the league is ran today. And with the addition of LeBron James, it has been good for business also. That's why, even though she clearly was upset with him, she granted him another 2-year extension with a no trade clause. That allowed for that franchise to be in position to get that $10 billion evaluation. Because before LeBron had arrived, they've been striking out with free agents ever since 2014 and LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, it's been real bad. Not only him, you could look at Kawhi Leonard. Paul George re-signed with OKC. That's before he got traded to the Clippers. He had the option of going to LA. You could take a look at even more recently, Klay Thompson. So they have been striking out with free agents for quite some time. And LaMarcus Aldridge back in 2014 had even stated that they didn't really have any vision when it came to winning and the on-court product. So once again, Jeanie has been fighting to keep that Laker brand, that Laker name that her father kind of put up on that Mount Rushmore of just NBA excellence. So now we're going to hear from NBA insider Brian Windhorst as he explains that the Lakers, in order for them to keep that standard that Dr. Buss had set, the overall NBA landscape has changed and it's real expensive to do so. So he further elaborates on the structural changes that has led to this Lakers sale. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Like, if you ask me the question, why did the Lakers sell? I think it's actually very simple. I think it's complicated because it's family, because everything with family is complicated. But the Lakers sale, in my mind, is very simple. And there were two reasons why the Lakers sold. One, valuations went crazy, largely driven by the Celtics selling for $6 billion, and that Middle East money wants into the NBA. The Lakers were bought with Middle East money, and know that Mark Walter led, and he is the governor. I guess Jeanie's the governor, but he is the controlling owner. But that group, Mark Walter's group, took on $10 billion from Abu Dhabi shortly before. I mean, I don't work for the company, so I can't verify that 1 week the other, but they took on $10 billion from Abu Dhabi, and then 3 months later bought the Lakers for $10 billion. They actually bought it for $6 billion, but $10 billion valuation. The influx of that Middle Eastern money and the Lakers just lifted all the valuations. So, maybe they knew that they could sell the team for $10 billion, but maybe they didn't think they could do that till 2035. But all of a sudden, the Lakers are now worth a lot of money. And the second reason they sold is because local television in America is collapsing, and the Lakers have been untouched by it, but they will be touched by it. So almost every pro sports team in America has had to take a pay cut from their local TV deal, basically with the exception of the Lakers. Last year, for example, the New York Knicks made $141 million. And the same company that owns the Knicks local TV deal and that owns the Knicks is the same company. Mm-hmm. And the company went into bankruptcy, and they had to cut the Knicks by about $40 million. The Knicks are getting $40 million less this year than they did last year. The Knicks, or the parent company, owns both. The Lakers got about $200 million last year, and they're going to get the $200 million this year. Okay. And the real differentiation between a team like the Lakers and the Grizzlies is that local TV money. The Grizzlies make $11 million a year. The Lakers make $200 million. They compete for the same conference. And now, if Jeanie was here, she would say, well, we have to share that money. We share the money with the players. Yes. You share the money with the partners. Yes. It's not dollar for dollar. But that is the Buffalo Bills and the LA Rams get the same check, okay? Because it's all shared. What differentiates the Lakers financially is that local TV deal. And the local TV, the company is for sale, okay? And so they are under threat. And so in Baxter's story, he said that the Buss family each got between $3 and $5 million a year. Like, that was their salary.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have other, maybe they have other investments where they don't have other jobs.
And that right there used to work in their father's time, but no longer works today. The other last NBA franchise I was sort of mom and pop, I believe, that sold was the Utah Jazz back in 2020. Once that pandemic hit, the Miller family cashed out. And that's when we really started to see a lot of the tech billionaires come in. And with the Lakers being the last mom and pop franchise, they were built a little bit better to weather the storm, but it was still crazy. That pandemic really hurt a lot of NBA owners. The league had borrowed over $800 million from one of their accredited partners back in 2020. And it makes sense. You had over 2 NBA seasons with fans not necessarily being in the stands. In the 2021 season, fans didn't really come back in until the springtime. I would say March of that season. I remember going to a game in Barclays Center, and that's when they were checking everybody's vaccination cards, and it was a whole mess. But the league definitely was hurting from basically not being able to sell out a full season in almost 2 years.
Jeanie's job is running the Lakers, and she gets a salary for being the president, but that's it. When a billionaire buys a team, if the team loses $50 million, fine, he's got his other businesses. It's the Lakers family business. So here we have the Knicks, who are comparable to the Lakers, taking a 33% pay cut. The Lakers were facing that. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but very soon. So they were facing a situation where their local TV, which differentiates the Lakers from everybody else, was under threat, and the valuations exploded. Teams went from selling for, $2-3 billion to selling for $6 billion. They get $10 billion. That's why they sold. All the other stuff is palace intrigue. But at the heart of it, and by the way, I think the Lakers selling was the right decision for the Busses, and I think it's going to strengthen the organization. That's sort of the takeaway. The intrigue about the background is what makes it fascinating. But I do think that Jeanie, regardless of how you feel about her actions, I think she made the right decision for the family, and I think she probably made the right decision for the Lakers.
Facts. She definitely did. Laker fans, you can now step up because you watched in the past, I would say, decade or so, the Golden State Warriors not only leapfrog you guys in relevance, but also their net worth has completely jumped over the Lakers. Once again, because of the Chase Center and that ecosystem that's around it, the Warriors are set up to make money whether Stephen Curry's there or not. And that's where Jeanie Buss and her family, from a structural standpoint, don't necessarily have the funds to sort of do the same. Owning the Lakers going forward and just trying to keep it within the family is going to have them looking like the Charlotte Hornets 10 years from now. Money-wise, it's just hard to compete. That's why all this private equity is coming in.
She specifically designed this deal, and very clearly she put the deal together because Mark Walter was her partner. This is one thing that wasn't in the story, but obviously if you know the Lakers, you know that as soon as AEG, which owns the building we're in right now, as soon as AEG got the Lakers to sign a new lease on Staples crypto, Philip Anschutz, who owns it, he immediately sold his 27% of the Lakers to Mark Walter and his group. As soon as he made sure that his arena was going to be filled because he was losing the Clippers and he owns the Kings, so he wasn't moving the Kings. As soon as he made sure that the Lakers were here, he sold.
Now that right there with Jeanie just re-signing the lease and having the Lakers in a building that they do not own, that is not the business model going forward for most of these NBA franchises. These new owners that are coming in are going to make sure that they own these arenas and the ecosystem around it. The business side of the game is changing so much that a lot of these teams are reconsidering even moving out to the greater areas of some of these cities in order to have an ecosystem and to take advantage of some of these areas, providing even better tax benefits. The Chicago White Sox are currently doing it as we speak. Once again, the Buss family is not necessarily in a position where they can make these type of complex real estate moves.
As soon as he made sure that his arena was going to be filled because he was losing the Clippers and he owns the Kings, so he wasn't moving the Kings. As soon as he made sure that the Lakers were here, he sold. And so for the last couple of years, Jeanie has had partnership with Mark Walter, and she's gotten to learn and get to know him. She liked him, so of course she negotiated the deal. And she negotiated the deal so that she would remain the governor. And I don't think that she would have negotiated the deal in a way that didn't keep her in the governor when she didn't intend to do it. The question is, who's making the big decisions? Is it going to be her on basketball decisions, or is it going to be Mark Walter? And that's yet to be, I think, determined.
And that right there is still a big question mark. You see the conundrum that JJ Redick and Luka is in, just being in that building. You don't know who's really calling the shots between Mark Walter, Rob Pelinka, Jeanie Buss, Kirk, Linda Rambis, Klutch Sports. There's way too many political fractions within that building in order for the Lakers to experience on-court success. But again, I got to give Jeanie Buss credit because she kind of organized the deal in a way that Mark Cuban was kind of alluding to the public that he still had control of the Mavericks when we all found out that that was not true. But the NBA also doubled down and said there was nothing in the paperwork that even said anything near close to that. So again, we got to give some props to her. And also with that innovation, there's going to be a lot of tough decisions that she's going to have to make. And really, at the end of the day, when you look at the article, it came down to her not only letting go a lot of the members of her families from certain positions within the organization, because now it is time for them to innovate. And you could tell a lot of these positions were kind of, of course, part of that mom and pop aura, that mom and pop atmosphere. Your family, okay, we're going to give you this position, because a lot of those job titles were basically eliminated. The whole scouting department that Jesse and Joey was running was let go. And the same thing sort of happened with Jeanie Buss. Matter of fact, his position was completely eliminated. So this kind of tells you the importance of their positions to begin with. And I've always alluded in the past that a lot of the nepotism hiring within the Lakers organization was holding the franchise back. Today's NBA teams are global entities that are run from a number of experts in different departments, whether it be scouting, the medical staff, etc. Even Jeanie Buss was let go and not even given the option of just resigning. So we understand Jeanie Buss kind of staying on board and making sure that she can clean up house in a more respectable way, because if it's up to new ownership, they would have probably just sent these guys an email. Matter of fact, the way Jeanie let her siblings go, they still were offended. And now Windhorst is going to touch base on the LeBron-Jeanie relationship. And funny enough, in this article, it was revealed very subtly that not only Jeanie kind of wanted LeBron James to be traded, but also the fact that his arrival in LA was pre-planned as far as 2017. Let's not forget, Kyrie Irving was not only traded from the Cavs in August of 2017, but that I Promise school, in order for them to build that and have that ready by the time LeBron James made his little sweet exit with the bow tie. Okay, here's the I Promise school, guys. Don't be mad at me. I'm going to LA. You see the political moves by the best politician in the NBA, Mr. LeBron James. We see you, LeBron. You don't have to put on your revolutionary suit with your glasses. I don't know what kind of political look you're going for, but your politicking games are A1.
Well, I think LeBron intended to stay in Cleveland, and then the Kyrie Irving thing blew up. And that was in 2017. And LeBron decided before his last year that he was going to do one in Cleveland and done. And I could, give you a whole chapter and verse about all that went down. Just trust me. And I think he, in 2017 looked around and saw the Lakers and saw a great opportunity. And whether he decided he wanted to do that in August of 2017 or whenever, he obviously very clearly, because he made the decision on July 1st. His previous two times, he dragged his thing out to July 7th, 8th. He knew what he was doing. And the Lakers made trades at the trade deadline to open up the cap space. The Lakers knew what he was doing. When LeBron went back to Cleveland, they didn't have the cap space. George, this is one thing people don't remember. They not only did they not have the cap space, they had Gordon Hayward in their building, and they were about to give Gordon Hayward an offer sheet. And all of a sudden, Rich Paul had to say, hello, LeBron's a free agent. Did you guys notice that? And they're like, oh, really? I'm an enormous believer of actions over words, because people just lie or don't know or whatever. You can trace their actions. The Lakers made trades at the trade deadline in 2018 to make sure they had cap space for LeBron. So what does that tell you? Okay. And then again, let's look at the actions over the words. Why did LeBron get a no trade clause 2 years ago?
That's because business was good, Windhorse. LeBron James gave the Lakers a relevancy that they haven't had ever since their father passed away. And let's keep in mind, when LeBron James had made his way back to Cleveland in 2014, the net worth of Dan Gilbert had jumped up over $500 million. So you can only imagine how things played out with the Lakers out there in LA. Jeanie Buss giving LeBron James that no trade clause in the deal that he wanted, that's only icing on the cake compared to the position that she was put in order to sell that team for the quote-unquote reported amount of $10 billion. I'll put the link in the description below of a video that I did where an MLB executive who was responsible for selling a baseball team had actually explained how that $10 billion evaluation is actually a little bit overstated.
Why did he do that? Did he do it just for fun? Just to have it? Why did he get it? That's an action. Last year, the Lakers did not offer LeBron a contract extension. That's an action. So you can debate whether you believe sources and all this stuff, and there's gray areas or whatever. And, as with anything, like when it comes to the Russell Westbrook thing, I look at it as one thing that you see when you're in the NBA a while. George, you know this, you have these conversations. When a team makes a really good draft pick, there's a line of people. Oh, no. I saw him when he was 16. Oh, no. There was this workout in Santa Monica. There was only one person there. I called under the fence. Oh, no. I knew his cousin's uncle's brother's wife. And everybody, it puts it on their resume. Okay. But when it's a bad draft pick, no, that was Jim's. No, that was Tony's. Tony pounded the table. This is what happens with the Westbrook thing. The action, forget about that. Pay attention to the actions. The action, he got a no trade clause and they didn't extend it. That's all you need.
And within that article, it was stated that Jeanie Buss was kind of she was kind of flexing the fact that LeBron James didn't get that extension. She kind of felt good about it. They even floated the idea of trading James to the Clippers. It makes sense when you think about it, because this past season, when LeBron James was going on his little tour around these arenas, the practice facilities, he stopped by Steve Ballmer's facility down there in Inglewood. But again, LeBron James has put on a masterclass on controlling his narrative. And that's something that Jeanie Buss, at the same time, she's actually defending her father's standards of just what it meant to actually run a Laker franchise, or just what the Lakers overall mean in the NBA lexicon. We're talking over 6 years before LeBron had arrived and Jeanie took over, that they were kind of fighting the narratives of just, oh, they don't know what they're doing. Look, they're striking out in free agency with LaMarcus Aldridge, etc. And the rumblings around the LA media, which people don't talk about too much, they have very similar characteristics as the New York media. Luka's going to find that out soon. The LA media was kind of hinting that the Lakers were kind of being cheap behind the scenes. So all these things eventually now through this article have got out. And Rich Paul right here, once again, LeBron James, Mr. Politician, has played his cards right. As now this Rich Paul, Netflix, Spotify, Bill Simmons kind of venture right here could come to the proper defense of the king. And they were quick with it too, because the same morning the article had released, Rich Paul and Max Kellerman were able to drop an episode that was already edited, probably rehearsed more than likely, and just carefully crafted a response.
So Lakers beat the Nuggets, but actually what I want to talk about is this article Baxter Holmes had on the Buss infighting. Do you see this?
I saw some of it, of course. I think I know what this is.
In terms of the sale of the Lakers, how that. But let me give you my take on it, because I was doing afternoon drive here in L.A. for years and all over the Lakers situation. It's sad, and it's sad to me in the sense that Dr. Jeanie Buss, who by the way, to me, the greatest owner by far history of American team sports, right? Mm-hmm. 10 titles under his watch, 10, and also trying to do it a certain way, hard enough to win a championship. He did Showtime, he blew it.
And at the end of all that success, he was still financially struggling by 1991-92. And that was a mom and pop franchise back when quite a few NBA teams were in the same boat. Fast forward today, now you look at the landscape, there's a lot of tech guys in there. There's a few kind of private equity, kind of real estate moguls mixed in. It's a very interesting nuance that's going on with the league right now.
I think his dying wish was to use the Lakers to keep his family together, right? That's what it seems to me, because why give it to your family and put them, all the kids, and put them in charge of different things? Why not just sell the team and let everyone enjoy the money, right? And the great irony to me about the Lakers is that Jeanie was in charge of basketball operations, and Mitch and Jim were in charge of basketball operations, and Jeanie is running the business, right? Think about when they made the deal for Chris Paul. Mitch and Jim did a great job, and they traded Powell and Lamar for Chris Paul. And at the time,
was it both of those guys?
Yes. And at the time,
wow.
I was like, that's a lot to give up for a 6-foot point guard. 14 foot of front court in Pau Gasol and Lamar Odom for Chris Paul. Wow. But they had the guts to look at that deal, and in the long run, they'd have been right. That would have been a good deal to make.
They still have Bynum? They had to have a big steal.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did.
Okay, keep going.
So I remember thinking, it's a gutsy move, and then in retrospect, damn, that would have been great for the Lakers. And what happened was, Dr. Buss's, the father, the patriarch who had passed, his wish to keep the Lakers, to keep his kids communicating and together, the opposite happened. Right? The irony is, the reason the Chris Paul trade fell apart was because when Mitch and Jim made the move, they were not in close enough contact with Jeanie, who was in New York with the owners. Because had they been, they would have known, guys, the temperature in this room, don't do this right now. These guys would come gunning for us, right? Let me finesse this first and then consummate the deal later. But instead, because there wasn't that communication between the siblings, the owners got infuriated in New York and undid the Chris Paul deal. They put pressure on the commissioner to undo the Chris Paul deal, which is what happened, right?
Yeah.
And so like the whole idea of the Buss infighting kind of helping the sale of the Lakers, my mind goes right back to the Chris Paul deal, where like the great irony of it all, save my family, keep them together, and because they couldn't communicate, it fell apart.
My good friend Shanae called me, and she said, well, actually I called her, but we were talking. And she said something that I missed on her show. And she said, you know,
Hugh McKay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said, you know, Rich, power comes with great responsibility. And so.
Damn, Rich, those Klutch Sports PR classes are coming through extra handy right now. I mean, just the level of tap dancing around the subject is insane right now. But we're going to get into it.
And she's right.
Uncle Ben, Spider-Man,
right?
Always a good quote.
She's right. And for this situation, look, there's an article written every day. Who gives a shit? I don't, right? And you don't know what's true, what's not true, but where there's smoke, there's fire, right? But what I will say is, I seen some of the stuff that came out about it, and obviously, you know, they talked about different scenarios in terms of the power that we may have and whatever. Here's all I know. All I know is this. There's an appreciation for guys like Michael Irvin, there should be, our legends. And there damn sure should be appreciation for a guy like LeBron, right? And I think that oftentimes people decide what not to do for reasons that don't really have substance to it. It's just like a
Is this
thing.
relating to the Buss infighting?
Yeah. You didn't read the article. The article talked about there's an issue, or there was some issue with LeBron and Klutch
okay.
having too much power and all these type of things.
Once again, this episode dropped literally the same day the article was released. And just the way LeBron James has a hold on ESPN throughout the years, I'm sure that he got wind of it while I was going through the editorial process. Make no mistake about it, all those exclusive interviews with LeBron and just the level of access, their relationship is sort of like a partnership. So LeBron James, once again, has laid down the blueprint for the next face of the league, or just whatever star wants to assume that position to follow along his blueprint.
The article talked about there's an issue, or there was some some issue with LeBron and
okay,
Klutch
yeah,
having
yeah,
too much
yeah.
power and all these type of things. And the point I'm making
You're
is
discussing. Okay, so let's be clear. You're discussing the idea that Klutch had too much power with the Lakers.
no, that's not. That's what this guy wrote.
Right, the idea
But-
that, not that it actually did.
What I'm discussing is that's what the guy wrote. But these type of things happen all the time, and people don't know your relationship, right? And so I'm just saying that you don't know if any of this stuff is true. You only know your relationship with other people. And what I know is from the time we've gotten to LA, we've been treated great. There was a championship won. We played Rummy Cube in the bubble, had a great time, lunch every day. And I think when people see things are going well, they try their best to poke holes and try to manipulate relationships and things like that. And in any relationship, no matter who it is, no matter how long you've been with somebody, there's going to be some type of annoyance at some point. That's part of it, right? We're all human people.
Yes, Rich, we're all human people, but I'm pretty sure Jeanie Buss had an issue with the fact that you guys, the way you position yourselves, it's almost as if you guys are bigger than the Lakers logo. That's more than likely the issue that she's probably had. And within that partnership that you guys had, sometimes it looks like the LeBron James portion jumps over the Lakers brand or sort of holds them hostage. It's been a weird dynamic / power struggle. There's just no way other historical franchises in sports would ever accept being positioned this way. The Yankees, Manchester United, in England, there's no one player bigger than the program. But in a way, if you really think about it, the fact that the Lakers are even in that position, the leadership of Jeanie Buss should be put under a further microscope.
But I like to focus on the things that were done and were done well and were done great, right? And every year you're fighting to try to reach a common goal. And when you're when you have the level of players that I've had, that relationship becomes a lot of times a partnership. And there's people that are very envious of that partnership. And so every day they try to put forth things and put out things and
For what it's worth, when I was on the
BS
radio,
information and so on and so forth.
This right here is very understandable with all the infighting among the siblings. And we have the Rob Pelinka faction who are really Kobe loyalists. So they may not like the fact that LeBron James is flexing powers that even a true diehard Laker like Kobe Bryant never really got to have. I'm sure the many people within Laker Nation would not necessarily put LeBron James in the hierarchy of players who have the gravitas to sort of take over the Laker logo. Now when you have players like Jerry West, Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, who three-peated and won 3 finals MVPs, Alex Cooper, Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Gail Goodrich, hell, even Pat Riley. Some of these people that are still alive today, where are they? They should be coming out of the woodworks, kind of offended on some of the positioning of the Lakers franchise coming out of the Klutch Sports dynamic.
We're not falling for that. Nobody's falling for that. I'm not falling for that. I'm appreciative of what I would say was the last 7-8 years or whatever it was. It was great. And you won. So there's
we've got a chip out of it.
And so there's nothing to talk about there. When these type of articles come out, people want to take the clickbait. You'll see stuff floating around and floating around and floating around. And it's going back to the shoe. This is why I created the whole thing about being unbothered. You got to be unbothered by this type of stuff. I am. I mean, it's like, whatever.
I mean, to me, the interesting thing is the Buss lack of,
I
the
don't-
Jerry
yeah,
Buss. But
yeah,
the
but
Klutch,
I don't get
the
into
Klutch
the
angle of
family
it, by
stuff.
the way, I was doing the radio show when
Yeah.
KCP came to the Lakers. What you got
Yes.
KCP to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Lakers,
On the
17
one-year
million
deal.
or 18 million.
Yeah,
one year?
18. Yeah.
18 million 1 year. And I remember what I would say on the air at the time is, give Klutch whatever they want. They're going to wind up sending LeBron here. Like, what are you doing? It's an inside job. You remember the Lufthansa heist?
Yeah.
Security, you're looking at him. So I was very much in favor at the time of that franchise giving you guys the keys because it would get LeBron to LA. Now, you're saying that's not what happened.
No,
I
that's
understand.
not what happened. No.
How and looking back at it, it's not what happened. Like
No.
AD was traded in the middle of the night for Luka, right? Like that's a Klutch client.
Listen,
So I'm not saying
it's business.
But what I am saying is, in retrospect, the Lakers, who were not going to sniff a championship, and even though it happened in the bubble and everything, they got a championship out of the LeBron situation.
And guess what?
It's great.
You can stop there.
Right, I agree.
Let's appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I know who appreciated that because I was there.
Right.
So let's just gratification.
Which bus child appreciated it?
Why is it
Put you on the spot right now.
Why is it so hard for people to just appreciate things?
Right.
So why does that have to be
Well.
such a hard thing to do? Just appreciate it.
So on another episode, Rich Paul further elaborated on the Baxter Holmes article that sort of shook up the algorithms, and he further elaborated on the whole LeBron James contacted the Lakers ever since 2017. That probably threw Cleveland fans into a spin cycle, but at the end of the day, make no mistake about it, that Midwest region, LeBron James understands he'll need their support when it comes to upholding his legacy. You guys check it out. And every once in a while, I'll check in.
Rich, you are in the news a lot this week.
I'm not in the news.
You
That's not
are
true.
in the
That is
Google
not true.
your name. You are in the news. First of
Let
all,
me guess.
what's
Sources
that?
says.
Yes, sources.
Okay.
Sources, yes. Let me say something. On Wednesday on the pod, you said at a certain point we were talking about an article, and you said, Max, you haven't read the article because I was using it as a jumping off point to talk about the Lakers and how things were and how LeBron changed it and all this stuff. And also, and really about the Buss family and how, you know, my whole theory about Dr. Buss left the team to try to keep his family together. That's why he put them in all these positions, and it didn't work out. But part of the article was about LeBron James. And Rich, I read the article. It's not really about LeBron James. It really is an article about the Buss family. And in the middle of the article, they insert a little thing about there's like a little insert on LeBron James, which seems to me to be clickbait. So
It's definitely not clickbait. It's more of a response to your Cold War podcast with Rich Paul right here. Jeanie Buss, just like LeBron James, she's been at the game a lot longer and she is PR savvy. In a way, she sort of devalued him a little bit because the article let it be known that they were thinking about trading him to the Clippers, and there was a lot of reservations about even giving him an extension. So those issues lingering around since 2022, what does that really tell the rest of the owners in case LeBron James doesn't want to retire this season?
Here's what I say, and I want to close the door on this. It was a slow news cycle, man. Slow news week. The way business works is, you know, you had the Lakers playing the Clippers Thursday night. So there was no trades happening around the league. And this is an opportune time to drop this article that really had nothing to do with me or nothing to do with him. I mean, at the end of the day, what I will say is this. When we decided to come to LA, obviously, LJ made the choice. There was really nothing that said, hey, there's any pressure for us to do anything, right? Just came back from 3-1. Everyone seemed to think they knew why he was coming to LA. Every platform thought they had the reason why he was coming to LA, and he wanted to be the 6'9" Denzel Washington, which wasn't true. And you know, when you have someone like Magic who was in the seat and you respect our legends, like I talked about the other day, and given to where when the decision was made to come, there was a lot of phone calls that I got, texts like, why, for different reasons. But we've always been people to block out the noise. We've always been people to focus on what's in front of us. And, if we say we're going to do something, we do it. And in this case, there was conversations had, and there was promises made. And I think those promises was made good on, despite what anybody had to say. There's Miss Mims, there's Gloria, there's Kathy, and there's Minerva. Those are the mothers of the four of us. And
when you say the four of us, who you're referring to?
Me, Mav, Brian, and Randy. And we were raised right. I'm never going to sit here and be disrespectful to nobody under no circumstance regardless what was supposed to be said about anything. At the same time, because as you can see, I'm not sitting here with dentures. There's no dentine in front of me. Maybe a few implants, but not dentures. But the point is, for me, when you think about the relationship and when you think about how people like to have drama, that's just not who we are. And so it's not so much as about what somebody was supposed to have said. I base things on what people do and how I'm treated, regardless of what somebody ever had to say.
Are you referring to the Jeanie quotes in the article?
That I'm preferring to what they said.
Or not quotes, but like, what that
there
wasn't
were no
quotes.
quotes,
It was
right?
what was claimed that she said in the article.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Come on, Rich. You know that article was heavily reviewed by ESPN, which is in a partnership with the NBA, before this article came out. So people within the Lakers brass were well aware, and so were you guys in a way, because once again, the same morning the article dropped, you guys dropped a very high quality edited podcast with your response.
I never felt that sentiment. Still
Rich.
don't feel that.
Rich, let me say something, okay? Because I was here before LeBron got to town. Before he got to town, I was
Right.
here. LeBron, and I left, and then LeBron got there. But as I always tell you, I was there when KCP got to town, and the buzz in LA was, oh, does this mean that the groundwork is being laid for LeBron? And everyone was extremely excited. Like the idea that the Lakers would have a good relationship with Klutch, everyone was excited. The only people who hated a little bit were, like, there are Lakers fans and then there are strictly Kobe fans. And Kobe fans feel competitive with LeBron, and that's a whole separate dynamic. But let me tell you, LeBron got to LA, he turned the circus into a Broadway show. It was a circus before he got here, before he got to LA. I lived it. We were broadcast partners of the Lakers. I was at the games. I was in the locker room. Once, look, I was there for, okay, they had Dwight Howard. Like, I just want to take people back in their minds for a second to remember this story and what happened. As Dr. Buss bequeathed the team to his children, he passed it along, and then he passed, sadly, because I was a big Dr. Buss fan. The team had at one point Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, Dwight Howard, and Steve Nash, and there were big expectations. This was not far removed from their 3 trips to the finals with back-to-back championships. It's a couple of years removed, and they're going to get back at it, and they're going to be right there. Rich, they brought in D'Antoni. He was the wrong fit for the personnel. It got so bad that Kobe Bryant basically staged a mutiny. This is my interpretation of what happened, but dude, I was there. He basically staged a mutiny, wouldn't run D'Antoni's system because they weren't going to make the playoffs.
And that shit was trash, Max. Let's just keep it a buck. That shit was trash.
And Kobe willed them into the playoffs. He played himself. He refused to come out of games. He played himself 40-plus minutes a game for several weeks until they were a playoff team, and then his Achilles went. And when his Achilles went, remember, they undid the Chris Paul trade. Now it's Kobe, no Achilles. Jeanie handed him a $50 million contract for a year, and everyone's like, wait, what just happened? We were about to have cap space. But she was loyal to Kobe. She wanted to show, I think, signal to guys like you.
Now that right there goes back to the beginning of this segment, when her father told her, when you finally get the cards in the poker game, you got to go from 0 to 100. In that moment, with Kobe coming off that Achilles injury and the Lakers actually having cap space to go out there and get a different set of free agents, you gotta wonder if Dr. Buss would have kept Kobe around, because we've seen him have more high-priced players like Shaquille O'Neal relatively still in his prime and give him up. Kobe no doubt deserved the money, but that move right there, Laker fans do have to acknowledge, it did set the franchise back. That whole post-Dr. Buss era with Jeanie Buss at the helm.
If you have a client like LeBron James, this is the way we treat our own, right? She was trying to show people how the Lakers do it. But meantime, the team was not competitive. Not Kobe's last game, which was amazing, notwithstanding. He took all the shots. He couldn't move anymore. He had nothing around him. The team was awful. They couldn't attract free agents. Nothing. If you would have told a Lakers fan, a real Lakers fan at that moment, do you know LeBron James is going to be here? We would have lost our minds. We were hoping and praying LeBron was like, oh my God, could you imagine? We'd have taken half of LeBron James.
Matter of fact, Max, you did get half of LeBron James. This is the weird part when he first arrived. Because remember, I think they had Lonzo Ball. They kind of had that young crew of players. Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram. LeBron James showed up in LA as a free agent, and they won 35 games the year before. Now, even though LeBron James did have a few injuries that season, they not only missed the playoffs, but they still won the same 35 games. Normally, the LeBron that we all know prior to could lift a shitty team all the way into the playoffs. So, what version of LeBron did the Lakers truly get? Yes, he was still effective and he had impact, but the days of him just putting everything on his shoulders and carrying a team, that version of LeBron was gone. And him alongside AD could get you to a championship. But the work that he used to put in before, like bringing that Cavaliers team without Kyrie Irving to the finals, that version of LeBron, yeah, they did not get.
You give me Jimmy Butler and someone else back then, and Lakers fan, but LeBron James? And then the fact that he got to town and won a championship. Like, it's unbelievable that is not perceived by anyone as anything less than a resounding success.
That's because Laker fans are used to success. That's the one thing that a lot of the LeBron James stans and just the Shannon Sharps, that faction of the media, don't understand. LA is not on some happy to be here shit. They're used to winning. Matter of fact, they're used to having some of the best players the NBA has ever seen wear their jerseys.
Yeah, and again, this is why like I said, I'm appreciative. I never got this sentiment that they were accusing something. And the reality of it is, you know, all these articles are written and people go on their platforms and things like that. I think a lot of people use it as an opportunity to you know, I'm going to say something that I always wanted to say or continue to pile on or whatever. But we don't come from that place. And
when you say we, who you're referring to?
I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about LJ. I'm talking about, you know,
Mav
our
and like
team.
the Klutch team.
Well, they're not all Klutch.
Right.
But I'm saying
the LeBron team.
Yeah. You know, I play a role. We all play different roles in that regards. But we don't come from that place. When the decision was made to come, it came from a very authentic place. Hey, I want to live in the city. I want to play for this team, despite what anyone has to say. And the other thing is, I definitely believe in my ability to help any team, whether that's go out and get players that I represent or players that I don't represent. I'm a basketball mind at the end of the day. I'm a basketball mind. And anybody that's ever worked with me will tell you that. It's not just about players I represent. I can help.
But you would do this for other players if you have a player that you do represent on a given team,
yes,
or a team that player may wind up on.
Yes.
You would want to help facilitate that team getting better and fitting in with your player and your player fitting in with him so that the team gets better, because it's just better for everyone.
Because that's what really representation should be. I can't sit here and say, okay, we have and that goes for all players. And if you talk to any GM around the league, they'll tell you, Rich knows basketball. Rich is not just sugarcoating about his player or any other player. He wants to help us be better. Obviously, I don't have the decisions. And when you talk about power, if that was the case, if we had all this power, then Tyronn Lue would have been the head coach.
Interesting point that he brought up Tyronn Lue, because that's something that the media has accused the Lakers of being cheap about, not hiring him as a coach.
Even the Lakers right now are pretty good. They're scuffling, they're this, that. They're above 500. They have been without LeBron for a lot of the early part of the season. They have been without Austin Reeves recently. Luka's missed games here and there, and they're still above 500 in an extremely competitive conference.
Yeah, listen.
Even though LeBron's over 40 and they're still doing pretty good.
But I just want to help people understand how this stuff comes about. And it's so crazy. I forgot all about this. Article was brought to me 2 months ago, maybe more. I forgot all about it because I'm like, I'm not even, and this is the article? Like, okay, great. And when you talk about just how things work, this really had nothing to do with us per se. And I don't get into anybody's family issues. I think they have a billion of ways to figure it out. But I can only go by how I was treated and how we were treated. And that's been great. And it'll continue to be great. And I'll continue to go to I'm a basketball fan. I own seats. You know, it's like, I think people get so obsessed with the drama of it all. And I'm like, listen, man, this is like the media circus of it all is like me riding the Space Mountain. It's like Media Mountain and the Disneyland of the NBA. But at the end of the day, all this is business. But the articles and things, it was just a slow news day. I had this Steve Largent jersey on.
See that?
Because one thing Steve Largent did is he moved the chains. Let's move the chains.
Let's move the chains.
At the end of the day, we have been treated great. We will continue to be treated great. I am so happy that Jeanie was able to do what she done, and the value of the team went up, and they did the
sold
business
it for $10 billion.
And here's the thing, what I'll close it on. As governor, she won the championship, right? With two guys leading the show. One name was LeBron James, the other name was Anthony Davis. That team also had 4 other Klutch clients on that team. So it was 6 out of the 14, whatever the case may be. And we enjoyed ourselves in the bubble. We enjoyed that season, and they won.
If I were you, Rich,
that is a beautiful thing.
If I were you, I would simply say, hey, you don't have to thank us, but a thank you would be appreciated. You're right. You're not making this up. And I saw it before you and I were really dealing with each other a lot, before we had any idea to do a pod together or a show together, before I was on First Take or anything like that. When I was in LA, I saw it from like that point of view. If anyone would have told us back then, hey, Klutch is going to help bring AD and LeBron to the Lakers, and it's going to result in a championship. If I were you, I'd be sitting there going, hey, a simple thank you would be appreciated. Listen, you don't have to, but
here's the thing. Max, I don't need to thank you because I'm shown to thank you every time I walk in the building. It's not about what you say. It's about what you do. All this stuff comes down to how much of a tax are you actually willing to pay? I just saw Mark Lazary on a show the other day, and he said, as an owner of a team, you have 2 choices to make. Do you want to make money, or do you want to win?
And Mark Cuban has said the same thing. Winning and making money is 2 different things in the NBA. Once again, Jeanie Buss trying to hold the Lakers up to that winning standard that her father had set. In today's NBA is an expensive and very complex task. She cannot hire guys like Rob Pelinka to make that happen. She's going to have the scouting department of a San Antonio Spurs, a Miami Heat, and also a shark of a GM to actually nail on the proper stars to surround those players with. There's barely any room for mistakes. Look at Luka Doncic. He has that 10-year Supermax contract coming up where he's going to make anywhere from $70 to $80 million plus a year. So right now we're about to see if the Lakers could become the first team in the NBA under these new rules to have a 10-year Supermax player and build around that guy while not trying to touch the second apron. So to have a winning formula, it's real complicated in today's NBA, and that's the standard that Jeanie understands with her owning the Lakers and just living up to her father's legacy. It was going to be very complex to have. The Buss family historically loves to hire internal people. And right now they are on the trajectory of success because Mark Walter is going to have that franchise in prime position to get the best of the best of just front office people in the scouting department, analytics, best medical staff, and just kind of restructure this whole Lakers organization to actually put them in a prime window of just being that same team in the 80s that can win consistently.
Those were his words, not mine. Sure. I've never owned a team. He has. And so for me in my position as the representation,
Joe Lacob wants to win.
Joe Lacob wants to
Joe
win.
Lacob wants to win. He'd love to make
Listen.
money, I'm sure, but he wants to win.
When the Cavaliers went on that 4-year run to the finals, Dan, I tip my hat to the man. He gladly paid the tax. But his team was winning. They were competing for a championship every year.
That right there does not get talked about enough. Even though Dan Gilbert is considered in a quote-unquote small market with the Cavaliers, he was paying that crazy luxury tax bill even 2 to 3 seasons after LeBron James left. I'm making reference to when LeBron James went to LA, not when he went to Miami. So that team with Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love after LeBron James left was paying crazy luxury tax bills. And who knows, maybe LeBron James from the outside looking in before joining the Lakers, he thought they would operate in the same manner, and he probably got inside the building and realized this is a mom and pop operation, and it's really not the case. Once again, the media narrative is that the Lakers were kind of being cheap about hiring Tyronn Lue.
I tip my hat to the man. He gladly paid the tax. But his team was winning. They were competing for a championship every year. Now, sometimes you can do that and not pay as big of a tax. But at the end of the day, all this is business.
And the business has been good for both Jeanie Buss and LeBron James. The Buss family was able to be in a position where they could sell the team for a crazy amount of money. And also LeBron James, his celebrity is actually 10 times bigger than what it was when he first arrived in LA. That LA market overall has allowed LeBron to extend and grow his media empire, partnering up with Turner Sports and also some multi-international production companies for exclusive rights to some of his behind-the-scenes coverage. And last but not least, we're going to hear from the man himself, Baxter Holmes, as this article on this Laker dynamic has been hitting the algorithms and causing up a stir. He spoke on the speculation of Jeanie Buss possibly doing a deal outside of her family when it comes to selling this team. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Of the Lakers, really, for some decades, but certainly in the post-Jerry Buss era, since he passed away in 2013. And the Lakers have been known as a family-run organization, so on and so forth. I've certainly had some people say to me, well, with the sale, there is going to be a transition, and the Lakers are going to be brought up to speed in the modern era, and some of the family drama and these issues are going to be a thing of the past, and whatever the Lakers look like in the future, this is certainly a team that's considered the crown jewel of the NBA and has all these advantages and a massive, massive audience and all these things. Once it's brought up to the modern era speed under Mark Walter, these things are just going to be a feature of the past, and they'll be kind of gone forever. So I've definitely had some people say that to me, that's what this will look like moving forward. But I do think it's important to kind of document how we got to this point. And that's what I tried to set out to do in this story. Well, first of all, I should say that the Lakers declined comment and multiple interview requests for Jeanie Buss and a host of others, including some of the people mentioned, who I was told receives the payments you mentioned. When I first heard about it, and certainly when I was talking to Jeanie and to Jeanie Buss about it, the underlying theme kind of leading into that was that they believe and said that it seemed to be that there were private discussions or even negotiations that happened between Jeanie Buss and Mark Walter. And there were questions so that some siblings had, I'm told, about whether a sibling could have private negotiations about a sale of the team and then present that as an offer. And the Mark Walters offer was presented as an offer, but certainly when some of these details came out and people understood that, as I reported, that like a Linda Rambis stood to make $24 million or a Kurt Rambis stood to make $8 million, those numbers I'm told are a nod to Kobe Bryant's jersey numbers. That, well, wait a minute, why are these people getting paid out? They're people that are close to you. Why are they these figures? It started to, in some ways, seem that this was not an offer and more of a negotiation. And there were questions of, well, does this violate the trust potentially? Are there, was this done behind closed doors and you're trying to present it as an offer? And so there were a lot more questions about that. And I'm told that Joey and Jesse considered for a time whether to take legal action, to have a judge potentially suss out, what's in the trust, was this done above board, so on and so forth. They didn't do that ultimately. As you mentioned, a majority of the Buss family agreed to sell the team. And it was a unanimous vote ultimately. And that's it. I think also it's probably daunting in some ways to go against Mark Walter in a long legal battle. But at the end of the day, the votes were the votes. And I'm told that Joey and Jesse understood that, but there's still some of those questions remaining, certainly about the payments. And I heard from others close to the team who those figures stuck out to them. I'll put it that way.
When it comes to the two youngest brothers, Jesse and Joey, the way the father wrote up the will, it kind of seems like the team will eventually belong to them, being the fact that they are the youngest siblings almost by 40 years. But some of the things that stuck out in the article was the almost audacity of any of the siblings to get fired even when they do a bad job. In 2017, when Jim Buss was fired, that seemed like it triggered a lot of the internal fighting within the family, because they were really appalled that another family member could actually fire one of the siblings. But at the end of the day, the league, the way it's structured now, guys would actually have to do a good job in their position. Long gone are the days where you could just hire someone just because. All these NBA teams are almost global brands now, and the penalties of failure are a lot higher. So throughout the article, there was not much acknowledgement from Joey and Jesse on just the whole infrastructure of the NBA switching up, and it wouldn't be feasible for things to just remain within the family. They would need major investment partners to come in and help them shift this Laker franchise into a more productive business that fits in today's landscape. But instead, we got a bunch of just keep it within the family talk, even though the Lakers are their primary business and they're competing with other NBA owners who have businesses outside of their franchises. Like I said, owning an NBA team today for these new class of billionaires coming in, it's really a real estate play.
Well, they're all rich in the end, but it's like rich, but it is a fractured family. Some of these things are really hard to kind of process. The idea of, you mentioned Joey and Jesse wanting to carry on their father's legacy and lead the Lakers into the future, which was something that a number of people had told me, including people who were with Jerry Buss in the final days of his life, that he had articulated.
Had he been alive today and seen where the business was headed, he more than likely would have made his kids aware that just structurally, they were not set up to compete on that kind of level. When you see what owners like Steve Ballmer is doing, just owning the land, owning the arena, and not even caring about just spending over $500 million in just a setup trying to get Kawhi Leonard paid, you can't really compete with that. Look at the Dumont family. They are very politically connected and they have a lot of money. Just the other day, Trump was thanking the matriarch of that family for giving him over $250 million, and Trump was asking her for another $250 in a joking manner. But when you say a joke like that, there's a little bit truth to it.
It's all over. And look, I'm not in the position financially that any of them are, so I can't speak to it. But the sadness was definitely something a lot of people from all walks and around the league said to me was like just a takeaway of how this whole thing ended. I want to share something that Johnny Buss, this is kind of from the cutting room floor. So Johnny Buss had said to me, he said, like, being a part of the Lakers ownership was a roller coaster of ups and downs. And, he mentioned that at times when the family could get together, they could be laughing and it could be jovial. It had nothing to do with the Lakers. But when they would talk about the Lakers at times, and this is principally, for obviously a long time amongst the four older siblings, he said, but then when the conversation would turn to Lakers, it was like, all right, who had what role? Why did dad pick this person over this person or over me? How are they faring? Why did I not get this opportunity? Like he said, the Lakers were the tension point in the family. And he said, during those downs of the roller coaster, sometimes like another sibling might come to me and say, should we just get out? Like, this is miserable. Why don't we just sell and we can all like walk away from the team? He told me, and then he said, and then the roller coaster would be up again and things would be good. And like, oh, this is great. He said, but it was always like these extreme highs and lows. And he told me that he started to think, even back in the 90s, like, it would be just great if we could all get away from this thing. It was, I mean, the way he described it was almost, I know this will sound whatever, but it was like a toxic asset.
Now, Baxter Holmes right there just pointed out in the 90s, they felt that it was a toxic asset. Once again, Dr. Buss, after purchasing the team in 1979 and just experiencing all the highs of the 80s, just making the finals 9 times, all the success, by the time the early 90s came, they were going through major financial issues that even players on the roster were asking the owner if he was going to sell the team. That is tough. And this is in an era where most NBA teams were pretty much mom and pop franchises. So you can only imagine today where the Buss family is competing with tech billionaires and just politically connected real estate, casino moguls. It's just crazy. The NBA is really headed in the same direction I would say most teams in the English Premiership or just international soccer clubs are just in right now, where major international corporations really are the owners of these teams.
Should we just get out? Like, this is miserable. Why don't we just sell and we can all like walk away from the team? He told me, and then he said, and then the roller coaster would be up again and things would be good. And like, oh, this is great. He said, but it was always like these extreme highs and lows. And he told me that he started to think, even back in the 90s, like, it would be just great if we could all get away from this thing. It was, I mean, the way he described it was almost, I know this will sound whatever, but it was like a toxic asset that was really driving the family apart and against each other. And that, people had told me for a long time that Jerry Buss was like the glue, trying to hold this family together, trying to hold his siblings together, or his children together, and amongst so much fighting and division and jealousy and whatnot. The Hulu series that Jeanie and Linda Rambis co-executive produced really gets into a lot of the specific details in all these chapters throughout the years. And Johnny, when he said, look, with all the money that everybody got, you'd think that we could be happy, we can come together and we could celebrate. But obviously that's not going to happen, and there's so much bitterness and it's hurtful, but it's the end of an era. And he wanted to be hopeful and say that, maybe at some point down the road, they could all be as one. I don't know. I'm not optimistic that happens, especially given the way things, went down. When Jeanie Buss was telling me about how, being fired and pleading to resign instead and not being given that option and feeling like a crumpled up piece of paper and then, thrown in the trash. There's a lot of bitterness there. And I don't know that any dollar amount's going to make it go away.
So finally, Baxter Holmes touched base on the LeBron dynamic that was sort of inserted into this article. Once again, this is a Cold War tactic right here by Jeanie Buss, as she's countering some of the noise that's coming from that Rich Paul podcast. And LeBron James understands that he is going to get a lot of arrows coming his way in his last year in LA. So why not jump ahead of it? And also, I'm going to say this. Jeanie Buss, as an NBA owner, might not be used to a player having this much power, especially over the media, than she has at this moment. I don't know if some of these celebrities are paying certain firms to be on Forbes's list, but the way the media puts the net worth of LeBron out there, I would say in the past couple years, it's a lot higher than each member of the Buss family. And we really never seen this before, where a current active player has a higher net worth than some of the owners of the team. I should say publicized net worth, because the way Forbes put El Chapo on that list, either they sent someone down there in Mexico to count that cash underneath the dirt, or that shit is pay for play.
In some years after their championship in 2020, and even after the Western Conference Finals in 2023, people in the organization described, seeing Jeanie sort of change and becoming more consumed with criticism of her or the organization, taking things personally and so on. And what those people said was, Jeanie had been known for in the past turning against people who had been important to the Lakers, important to her, whether it was Jerry West in the past, whether it was firing her own brother, Jim Buss, in 2017. So they had noticed a pattern, and they had seen also that pattern emerge more and more, especially by that time, with LeBron James. But the framing of the tension with LeBron was more about Jeanie and a time period of seeing her as people told me, change. And so that was the framework that we felt it was important to include. Look, people in the organization describe like seeing Jeanie kind of change and also wondering if she had reached a tipping point, and that all of this, some of the things that you had just mentioned, does she just want to sell and get away from this? And ultimately, that's what happened. And I've had people ask me, like, how does this impact LeBron? Do you see him on the Lakers before? I mean, look, his contract is up after this season. He's 41. I think his health is going to be a huge factor with everything, especially at someone his age and the amount of miles on his body. He's obviously played, for anybody his age, like he's playing at an incredible level. So I don't know where it kind of holds, but certainly as I learned more through my reporting, these things have been going on for a while. It's been a lot. I was standing probably 5 feet away from Magic Johnson when he suddenly resigned from the Lakers. And that remains one of the most, unbelievable is a word that gets thrown around a lot, but that remains one of the most unbelievable moments of my reporting career. But yes, everything from, some of the things you mentioned to certainly to now, and some of the things I've learned about, and very little of them have anything to do with basketball or with like winning on the court. It's been all these other things. It's been a lot.
And it definitely has been a lot for Jeanie to carry on her shoulders, because she is carrying that legacy of what her father previously did. Even the fallout with Magic Johnson just quickly resigning before he was about to get fired from that president of basketball operations role that he was in. There's been quite a few things throughout the years that has kind of hurt that branding that the father had built from the 80s, just the Lakers being known as that gold standard franchise. At the end of the day, Jeanie did well. Is that sometimes in life you have to adapt and just evolve. And the NBA right now is almost a multi-billionaire level game. And there's nothing they could really do about it. It's unfortunate because a lot of their childhood identities is surrounded by that purple and gold logo. And we got to remember the human element to this. It would be hard for anyone to shrug off an identity that they spent most of their livelihoods building up until their 40s and 60s, especially when it's tied to a family member. That's the hardest part of it. And there's truly no amount of money that could really alleviate that. And this story shows that to the T. It's across multiple generations, from the youngest brothers all the way up into Jeanie and her 4 older siblings. The childhood memories just being around the Lakers, the father's ambitions. It's a sad and rejoiceful story at the same time, because now they can move on. They can actually be free to build their own identities. It's just life. You got to evolve. It is what it is. You guys hit up the link in the description below. Check out my NBA True Story playlist. There's plenty of nuanced stories just like this. And until next time, you fellas stay safe. Peace.